Now is Mary Healy. Mary's a professor of scripture at Sacred Heart Major Seminary, which is here in New York, and she was just appointed by the Pope to advise him on liturgical matters. That happened earlier this year, right? Can you explain that appointment and what the job is essentially?
It's called the Dicastery for Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments. I know that's a Catholic mouthful, yes. But essentially it's what used to be a group of bishops and cardinals only who advise the Pope on matters relating to the liturgy and the sacraments, which of course is central to the life of Catholic Christians. For the first time in history, the Pope appointed 2 women, including myself and one other woman, as well as a priest, to this body earlier this year. That means that the next time the congregation meets, that dicastery, that body of people, that we will have voting rights. I don't know when that next meeting will be because everything is now going to be in the hands of the new Pope. Right.
So a couple of quick things. I think we have a picture of you there that will show related to this appointment, but I would ask before, I want to talk, there you go, a little bit about the role of women in the church, which you just alluded to, especially under this Pope who has just died. But everything stays the same, you think, or you don't know how it'll play out, but the role that you've been appointed to stays from one Pope to the next, or no?
Yes, it should. All the heads of Vatican departments lose their job upon the death of a Pope, and it will be up to the new Pope to either reappoint them or appoint others that are in accord with his priorities. But those who are members of the various Vatican departments will typically stay in those departments. The picture you just showed is actually a different body. It's the Pontifical Biblical Commission.
Okay.
And that's something that Pope Francis appointed me to as well. It's biblical scholars from around the world who advise the Pope on matters related to Scripture.
So to your earlier point, he did make a point of focus in appointing women to higher roles, it seems, inside the church than had previously been the case. Sometimes people look inside from outside of the Catholic Church and say, well, this organization that's been around for 2,000 years has a long way to go in terms of the role of women. And so how do you look at that matter in terms of what's realistic versus, what should be the case? I mean, how do you look at the issue as someone who's so deeply involved in it?
Yes, it's a very difficult matter of discernment as time unfolds and the church faces new questions and new perspectives in every generation. The church has to remain faithful to the teaching of Christ. And from the beginning, Christ chose only men as his apostles.
So the idea of women priests is just not something that'll ever be on the table, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. But that doesn't mean that women cannot and should not play a much greater role in the church at every level, in both decision-making, in giving advice and counsel, in the activity of the church. And of course, there are many prominent women who lead remarkable ministries and charities and educational projects within the church, many other things. But Pope Francis recognized that there have not been many women who are in decision-making roles in the Vatican, and he has appointed several just in recent years.
Was it a pronounced difference between previous papacies? Was he much different than previous popes in that way?
Yes. He was the first to appoint a woman as the head of a Vatican department. No pope had ever done that. So there's now a woman leading the congregation that oversees religious life for priests and nuns in religious life. And he's appointed a woman to the Secretariat of State, not the senior position, but the next position under him, and also to other Vatican departments, as including the Synod of Bishops, as a voting member of the Synod of Bishops, the undersecretary. So he has made decisions that have not always been accepted by everyone, but he's remaining within the tradition of the church. He's faithful to the tradition of the church regarding priesthood for men only, and yet seeking various ways to give women a more prominent voice.
Okay, one more question for you then, Mary. How do you feel personally about the future of the Catholic Church?
I'm very hopeful because I see God doing something new right now in our time. There were record numbers of baptisms of adults in England and France and some parts of the United States this year, at this Easter. And there is a almost a hunger, a growing hunger that you can feel, where people have had enough of spiritual emptiness, of the vacuity of modern culture, and they're turning to Christ, and they're turning to the church. And of course, the church is full of problems. Sometimes I think our message could be, we're a mess, come join us. If you're a mess, you'll fit right in.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.